Welcome to Deep Web 3 Secrets. We are getting started now, definitely here in the Ecency Discord, the most popular decentralized DApp built onto the Hive blockchain. We've got a very special guest, Good Karma, today, and we're here with Aloha Ed. Aloha Ed, how are you doing?
You know, Eco, if I was doing any better, they would probably pass a law against it. I am excited and enthusiastic to get a chance to spend some time with you, Good Karma, and the Ecency, the good folks over here at Ecency this morning. Essentials, I believe, you are called. Good Karma. It is fantastic to get a chance to talk with you. Thank you for taking some time out from all your building and developing and spending a little bit of time with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. And good day to everyone once again. And it's great to be connected with the community and talk about all what we're doing on Ecency.
Now, I am probably going to have a laundry list of questions for you. And Ecency is actually one of the first applications that I encountered when I started using Hive. But as I was kind of prepping for our conversation today, I was going back all the way through Steam times. And I noticed that there's like this constant kind of like aquatic kind of theme. And we can kind of see it with your icon. And even in the currency icon, while it looks kind of like a heart, it also kind of looks like a cresting wave. Can you talk a little bit about the aquatic theme and how you've kind of woven that into your projects on Steam and now on Hive?
Sure. When we started, back then it was called eSteam application. And when we started on Hive, and also back then it was Steam, blockchain has, in a sense, it is delegated proof of stake. So every power you have on a platform is a stake based. And from that point, there was a concept that when you have a bigger stake, you are called a whale. And when you are smaller, you are a beginner, you are smaller fish, and so on. So this theme of fish or aquatic theme came early on when there was different category of the users who joined early on, who had a higher stake, who were the investors, and who came later on and grow gradually. So this kind of categories were already there, and all we did was to create the atmosphere around it. So we created some characters which we kind of attached to the application itself, which gives the image of the application, so to speak. So from that time on, we just continued similar view. And when we rebranded to Ecency, so we also thought what we could do, how we can shift it so that it will also be similar logo. Back then we had the E, from eSteam. So we still kept the E sign, but at the same time we created heart shape and then waves also. So it was kind of combination of all. And we had our friend, my friend of who is the Phil, who kind of did all these illustrations. He was really instrumental for creating these characters and then engaging with community and creating different kind of signatures and everything. And after that, a lot of other people took on and helped with the creation of animations, different animations. Iris World is one of them, and many others. So it is all community effort, so to speak.
In a world where everything is bees, I find that your branding to be really refreshing, and even the color scheme, so many red and yellows, and it's just really refreshing. Ecency, I wonder if how much branding in terms of we're all building on Hive, but what you're building or what any one person or community is building, must be branded. How has branding yourself among a decentralized group, how has that played a part in your, story developing on Hive?
That's a great question. Um, well, actually, if as I mentioned, it was eSteam, which was kind of based on a blockchain called Steam. So we just added E on in the beginning, and we just created eSteam. But when we shifted to Hive, what we noticed that eSteam was difficult in a sense to market that product, which is, the eSteam word itself is kind of quite generic, and it's hard to get branding or recognition with that name. And when we started on Hive, we thought quite, we discussed with the team quite a lot, and thought what we could do so that it will not be, common word or conflict with other brands, but also have unique image at the same time unique spelling. So from different conversations, different options, there was kind of essentials, which was kind of our communities, our essentials, and also decency, which is kind of forming decent communities around the world. So from those combinations, we kind of thought maybe Ecency is a good way to go, because it's kind of never been used and it's uncommon, and you can build a brand out of it, and it can just be recognized when you say Ecency. And it's just, back then when you searched on Google, you would get kind of correction suggestion, do you mean decency or do you mean different word? But right now, if you do Ecency, it will automatically give you the correct result, because it's learning and it's adapting to the exact branding name.
Now, something I've noticed, good karma, is that along with the Ecency, the essentials, or basing it off of decency, there's a strong kind of focus on the Ecency community, and kind of creating like a home or a network beyond just a typical thematic Hive community. Do you think that's an important thing? Because it seems like the way Ecency is set up and run, not necessarily at the software layer, but there are some components in the software layer that maybe we'll talk about. But I'm just talking about the approach, kind of the philosophical approach, the way that newcomers are treated, and the engagement that there seems to be of perhaps all the front ends. There is a strong drive to create kind of a sense of community within the app itself. Have I read that correctly?
Right, that's 100%, because in traditional social media, usually the companies or corporations kind of form the platform, and they are basically controlling everything. But in a decentralized world, you cannot do that, because you are based on community, and you are built by community and for the community. So it's kind of turning the equation opposite direction, where the users are the controller of the platform. They can basically decide on direction which it goes. And on Hive, you have seen the proposals or different kind of supporting groups. So this kind of gives you idea that the community is in control of the platform. So they have a big say on what direction it goes, or what direction it takes.
Well, I want to hook there to open source, but it also brings up, we've been trying to interview all of the proposals on the DHF, and it has been a long-standing case that Ecency gets more user votes on their proposal than any other proposal. There are more active users voting on Ecency proposals than any other proposal. And so it seems that you've harnessed community in a different way than other apps or dApps on Hive. And so before we get into open source, maybe I just wonder if you have any best practices or lessons learned for other people on Hive or even other communities and other spaces as we're learning how do we activate smaller stake users to care about something?
Right. So our goal from the start was to give everyone equal ground. You know, obviously, when you start the platform, there will be bigger investors or there will be whales who have a bigger say in what direction a platform takes. But also the new users who are right now joining who doesn't have any stake, but they want to be part of the community. So they have to also feel involved. Otherwise, you will never grow the platform. You will be stuck with that initial investors or initial user base. So goal here was to give everyone equal say in whatever development we do. So from that point, we came we constantly try to encourage new users to be more involved, to be more active on the platform, and also at the same time grow their audience. Because when you new on a platform, you don't have audience or you don't have much following, or if you do, you have to still use the platform to invite them. So that's been kind of our goal, to keep kind of improvements, so that keep improving user base, so that new users can invite their communities and grow together. I don't know if it answered the
Yes,
question.
well, it brings up a good point here, just from Buttcoins. While it's on my mind, uh, even since eSteam, you guys have had a special focus on mobile. Is that part of the strategy, or is that just from your earlier experiences as a developer?
Right. So when we started the mobile application. We didn't have a website at the beginning. We were only developing mobile application because there was none, and it was challenging to develop mobile application because libraries back then, the software library which you use to connect to the Hive blockchain was really difficult to use, and it wasn't easy. So we started with the mobile application, and we were only focusing on that. And later on, people start to ask, we would like to have a desktop experience also similar like mobile. And then we shifted some of our resources to develop a desktop application. And after that, some people say, "Oh, I don't want to install application, but I want to access it from web browser, website." So later we then switched to the website and mobile application. So now we are kind of a full-fledged platform where you can access from a web browser, website, and then at the same time, from a mobile application. And it gives us some advantage that when kind of our users use mobile applications, they get naturally exposed to the search engine optimizations, like a Google or a Bing or Yandex or whatever search engine you look for some keywords, your content shows up. So it was a kind of natural progression for us, because without website, our users wouldn't get exposure to the different audience or new audience through Google searches or other search engines.
Now,
Maybe it is more like a technical. Yeah, sorry.
before we get too much more in software kind of things, and I do have some observations there. Ecency kind of has an inherent reward system, and that is the Ecency points. And so, even if I don't have a stake, even if I don't have much of a Hive stake, like say maybe I just had 10 Hive power, and I've got a moderate amount of resource credits, everything I might do on Ecency is going to generate some Ecency points. Whether that's commenting on somebody's post, whether that's even just being active in the app, the heartbeat, whether that's making a post and so forth. So what can you kind of describe for us a little bit the Ecency point system and what went into the thinking of that, and maybe how that might change in the future? And why you went with that, maybe rather than a layer 2 token, maybe some Ecency.
Of course, when we, you see, when we started Ecency, there was kind of, we noticed people are mostly posting, not like necessarily engaging with their audience, but only posting and then hoping that they will get rewarded by their content, and only in the form of votes. And it was difficult for the new users, because as soon as you join the platform, if you don't know anyone, your content usually doesn't get viewed or doesn't get any votes. And we thought how we can improve this, how we can kind of give incentive to post more, or at the same time engage more, and get at least some reward from that, even if you don't know anyone on the platform who might vote your content. You could still get some benefit. So that was a kind of birth of a point system. And points also was a kind of, we thought, do we go with a decentralization like a layer 2 like you mentioned, or do we want a centralization for now? And when we researched Hive engine, there was one layer 2 platform. Back then it was not much centralized. I mean, it was not decentralized, but mostly one server was running it, and it was kind of discouraging for us to go that road, because it would also give us complicated kind of what you call distribution, because distribution is important when it comes to the token. So we thought, instead of token, we can just call it points, and we could centralize it for now, and then try to see how we can iterate it quickly. When you have a token, let's say on a layer 2, you have less flexibility on the use cases and how to evolve the platform, how to evolve the token. But if you have a pointing system, it's centralized, so you could test different use cases and try out different things before you go with the token system. So that was kind of initial our idea, and later on we thought we can airdrop the real token when we end up launching it, but we never ended up launching it because there was no good platform to base this token. So now we have more layer 2 options on the Hive. One is a Speak Network, one is the Hive engine now, another one is a VCS, and there will be more layer 2 systems, and we are constantly monitoring and finding out which one might be suitable for our token if we end up launching it. But pointing system will be still centralized, and because it will give us more control over how to gamify the system, then later we could airdrop the tokens based on the point.
I want to
Does
just
that
jump in
answer the
here.
question?
Yeah, you're doing great, by the way. You mentioned gamification. And so, just if you could unpack that a little bit, because I think what you're describing, and we've been chatting about some of the options with the points, but you've gamified an already gamified system. Now, the real game, you might call it, the Hive Power game, requires stake. But I noticed that you said that you need to feel involved before you grow your involvement. So you've gamified maybe the onboarding process, which maybe is really an inboarding process, keeping people onboarded. So it sounds like you've put a lot of thought into that. So maybe just spend another minute unpacking gamification and how it's, led your decisions along the way.
If you have seen the platform, I mean, the pointing system right now is kind of also helping us to see who is active on the platform. And it is because every action you do on the platform, even if you stay active, like opening the mobile application or opening the website, even that action gives you some points. And that action is kind of recorded, which gives us a kind of what you call gives us the correct way of distributing the tokens in the future. Because when you in a crypto world, you can see a lot of airdrops happening, and a lot of token distributions are kind of constantly happening, but there is no single way to prove that you are actually distributing to the real people who are really active on a platform. Instead, you just airdropping to 1,000 people who might be just abusing the system and gaining more tokens. So this was kind of initial idea also to see who is really active and who is really contributing to the growth of the platform. And through that, you have a base of user bases who have really been active and engaging and growing the community, contributing to the network, and they are really worth airdrops. And in terms of gamification, we introducing each new activity or new use cases as time passes. In the beginning, let's say it was activities, and then you get points by voting, commenting, or posting. Through time,
I think we've got someone with a live mic. Chirox, if you would, please mute yourself, sir.
so through time, we're adding more use cases to the points, because it is flexible, and we can expand it. It all depends on how we can allocate the resources to develop certain features for it. But adding the new functionality or new use cases are much easier compared to when you launch a token. You are mostly restrained by the functionality or by the use cases. So this is kind of new to us. Also, we are exploring as we go, and kind of listening what community says, and going from there step by step. And also communities, when we launched the communities, Melinda knows very well that when you have a community, you can even subscribe your community to earn the points. And if people are engaged in your community or publishing content to your community, then your community can also earn the points, and then you can use those points to incentivize more engagement within the community. So this is kind of different use cases and different gamifications we're trying out, and see which ones are more kind of helps us more with engagement and staying on a platform, keeping people on the platform, and engaging with each other.
Well, speaking of on platform, we have a comment from Woody. I just want to share. Sorry, Ed. We appreciate your contributions as developers and witnessing Hive's team for so long. Now, this is Engine Woody. He's also been an OG, you might say. You are approachable and available, and it speaks volumes. Go ahead, Ed. That was just a nice comment. I thought appropriate at this time.
Well, I was going to catch two comments myself. One is from Buckcoins, and Buckcoin says, "I love earning points. Such a great feature. I love using my naturally earned points to promote posts that are more special to me, and or to promote someone else's post that I think is important." And I just, good karma, I just got one of my friends to get on Hive the past week, and I walked him through downloading Ecency, and I recommended to him that he stay in the Ecency sort of segment for the moment, earn some points, and, because it gives him a chance to organically kind of grow his own stake with activities, because he'll get rewarded at each step. And Engine Witty also had kind of maybe a related question. Have you had to deal with, and how do you deal with abuse of the points, the Ecency point system? Has that been an issue so far?
Well, in the beginning, there was some abuses. People try to use multiple accounts, which we cannot avoid. And we try to, there is a Hive watcher on the platform who tries to check kind of activities and trying to connect the accounts together if they belong to one user or not. And those kind of abuses are usually how I would say, it's kind of minimal because you have to be really active and you cannot be active with 2 or 3 accounts at the same time. And points are usually kind of what you call, they really require you to be active on the platform. They don't come just by logging in and just by posting or something, but you have to be really active, and that takes an effort. And even if there is a really the abuse use cases, some people trying to hack the system or other things, then there would be kind of possibility of them getting into the kind of what you call ignored list or blacklist or something like that. So that would stop them from earning the points and then engaging with the points system. So this is kind of the only one limitations we set up so that we can kind of fight this abuse use cases, but it's not a lot. So as I said, it requires an effort, and you have to be on a platform. You have to be active and then contribute to the network to earn the points, and then without that effort, you cannot get it. So it's yeah. So
No, it's a brilliant mechanism. Why don't we slowly start pivoting then over to development? And I think earlier you mentioned the Speak network, and that recalled to memory that breakaway communities that have been promoted, as far as I understand it, are actually based on Ecency code. It's essentially a breakaway communities or a fork of Ecency code. Can you tell us a little bit more about development on Ecency and who's been active and who's helped you in the development process?
well, breakaway community is kind of it was all self-initiative from the 3Speak team, because our source code is open, our website and our mobile application, everything is open. It was by initiation of the 3Speak team. They just cloned our application and tried to create a breakaway community out of that. So it was not quick task. There was a lot of effort went into developing this, but it is based on what we're writing or what we're working on, and it was just modification of that Ecency source code. And along the way, we have helped in some cases where there was issues with our code, we fix, and then if they find some bug and then they fix. So it is the kind of a nature of open source community. When you have your code base open, anyone can contribute to the code base and anyone can use the code base. So that's what it is for. And even if Ecency doesn't exist, our source code will be open always, and anyone can just clone our source code and just name different branding or different application and just launch and run it again. So that's been our kind of goal, because we don't know what will happen in the future. We have human beings have a limited lifespan, and our hope is to create open source community so that even if Ecency doesn't exist, community can take on the challenge and continue the development of the source code. And we are trying to build this the mindset within Hive also, so that everything should be open source, so that you can the effort spent on that application should be used by the community in the future. And so this kind of breakaway communities are a perfect example of how you can just use open source application and create modifications of that, create different for the different communities. So it's been wonderful. So we are trying to create some new versions of breakaway communities in a way that, because we migrated from our old source code to the new one, we are trying to kind of take their changes and make it better as well. And in all collaborations with the 3Speak team and the developers who are working on this. So it is all collaborative effort, and then bringing platform to the more user base, more communities, so that everyone can see what Hive is offering.
Well, I absolutely love that, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart, which is open source development. And recently, I discovered this breakaway communities because someone reached out to me and asked if I could make breakaway communities in a box, as a service. I've been trying to
All
put
right.
together kind of a Red Hat type thing and publish the code, but also, if somebody wants to run it, doesn't have the skills, couple dollars a month or even a couple cents per month, depending on what the microservice is. Um, so, can you just say a few more things like? Is this is blockchain your first open source software experience? I find that most people that are passionate about open source connected to it previously to blockchain, even though blockchain is an open source idea in the open source world. Do you have previous experience with open source software or otherwise, and or copyleft or any? I mean, what is your experience? Why are you so passionate about this development model?
Right. I think, yeah, I would say blockchain is kind of a main source of inspiration. Back then, when I started before even Steam and before Hive, I was part of another crypto community where I saw the potential to build some applications, and I built some small applications on that platform. And later on, I found out about Steam. But all was based on how Bitcoin is built, open source and public. So from that inspiration, I guess I was hooked up, kind of idea of open sourcing everything what you build and just continue building and grow the community together. So that was kind of main inspiration for me. And also when you're building software, it's kind of your um, kind of it's your baby, right? So when you're building it from the beginning, you want that to survive, even if you don't develop or even if you are not available. You want that software to serve the people. So it is kind of that's why we have on Ecency. Even if you go to the GitHub .com and /Ecency, you will see all our source code is open, and you will see on the top that set it free. So it's kind of a motto we follow also. If you love something, you have to set it free so that it can find its own life. And even if you don't develop, someone else will take it and develop it in some different way and use a part of the code. And that code will continue surviving and serving the people who you intend to serve.
Well, thank you for that. And I guess there's no better hook than any. Could you just take us down memory lane and remember maybe the hard fork? What was that like for you? What did you feel, was your role to play, and how did you play that role with, at shepherding Mother Henning, a whole community of users that obviously were less informed than you and looked up to you as the person they trusted to figure out what to do in a crisis.
Um, yeah, you mean the Steam hard work, yeah?
The
When
big
we
one.
when Hive
Yep, that
yeah
big
when
one
Hive
that
moved out
happened.
of Steam. Yeah, if you know the history, it's there is a lot of people involved in this kind of movement. It was kind of our fight towards the freedom, because when we lose the essence of what we're building for, then community can come together and see why we're doing things. If we are back to square one, where one company can control entire network, then it's no better than what we're building, no better than Twitter or Facebook. So this was kind of a wake up call to everyone that we have to be more resilient to this kind of attacks also. And obviously, during that time, it was a lot of discussions by top 21, 20 or 30 witnesses even come together and discussing how to move forward and how to solve the issue so that we are responsible in front of community, in front of users. So from collective decisions, there was, as you know, the history, there was decision made to fork out and to create new platform. And after that, we just have to, all the applications who are in favor of fork, they just have to rebrand and move on. So that's what we did with, we kind of switched from eSteam to Ecency, and we never looked back. Our application on Steam was still open source, so anyone could use it, but we never encouraged it. Just continue building on Hive.
How is discovery been for the 3Speak mobile application and for Waves now? Because I feel like Ecency is probably one of the most usable applications right out of the box. And in some ways, then Ecency becomes one of the most likely places where people might first encounter Hive and then go from being on Ecency to, splitting out and using all the different things that are on Hive. But how has discovery and adoption been here recently for Ecency?
Well, most of our active users are on the mobile. If you can see our stats, I think we shared in a few months ago. Majority of our activities are happening on the mobile devices for everyone. So that kind of gives you perspective where you should focus on. And this was that's why our number one when we started on application. We just thought mobile application is a must because without it you cannot attract millions. And when it comes to the the active or the futures within the application, that's another thing where you have to make sure the futures are more intuitive so that newcomers feel the same way which they use it, Twitter or Facebook or whatever applications they use regularly. They should feel similar atmosphere when they're using, Ecency. If they come to the Ecency and then whenever you do one action, it takes 3-5 seconds to record, then it's no go because on other social networks it happens instantly. So the usability is really important. I think one of the reasons why Ecency is the number one mobile application because it has enough features that you feel at home. You can do everything from your mobile phone. And I would really like to see more mobile applications, based on Hive. But this time, I think we will slowly see more and more applications. And we launched last year Waves mobile application, but it's been more kind of experimental for us to see if we are ready as a community to engage with the shorter content as opposed to long articles and different formats. And Waves by design has a very minimalistic approach. You can just open it and you just see like Twitter like feed where you can create waves quickly, short content, and then consume content quickly. So that's kind of a very minimalistic approach. And there are other applications I think from 3Speak team. They are more focused on video content. So it's also I cannot say much about their user base or how the growth of their application has been. But we try to collaborate with them and then including, for example, right now you can go to Ecency mobile app and website, you can upload videos through Ecency onto the 3Speak network as well. So this has been kind of collaboration and trying to engage or increase the user base of both applications or both.
Very good. And I haven't tried to upload a video through Ecency, but I will do that after the program and test that experience out.
Yeah, we did some improvements over how their uploading system works. On our system, kind of we give option for you to see your videos as a gallery, and you can include your videos, multiple videos. If you published them one by one before, you could include them in your future posts again. So it's kind of some of the kind of new use cases we try to create out of what StreetSpeak offers.
Earlier, we mentioned DHF proposals. And Eco, I believe you gave the statistic that Ecency has the history of being one of the most voted for set of proposals.
Consistently.
All right. And before we came into the program, I was going in and I was reviewing some proposals. And Good Karma, I think Ecency has a proposal that will be coming up for vote very soon. Can you tell us what you hope to fund and what you hope to do with the upcoming proposal?
Sure. So every year, almost kind of a year, we have a proposal to continue development, and in that development proposal, we kind of mention what we're going to build or what we're going to focus on. So this is our current proposal will expire 15th of March, I think, after 10 days. And then we will be having a new proposal to continue our development on both mobile application and website. And in the new proposal, what we will be focusing on is, earlier we talked about breakaway communities and self-hosting. So we want to kind of make sure our source code is flexible enough to allow anyone to basically run a website or host self instances. For example, if you have a blog on a platform, and you could basically host a separate instance on your domain, and it could be only pointing to your blog page. If you have a community, you could host on different domain your communities, just like a breakaway community. So this kind of configuration allows us to be more flexible and spreading kind of decentralized blockchain or decentralized social network to wider audience. So anyone who is writing, who likes to have their own blog, they can just do it, and they can host it under their name or community name and have it instantly set up on the Hive with the community and with the engagement with everything, with the rewarding system and everything. So that's been kind of we mentioned on upcoming proposal. We will be focusing on that part mostly, where you can easily set up your instance, and you can easily also configure it for your community. And another aspect is we are connecting different blockchains. This has been kind of StreetSpeak team recently launched the Bitcoin Bitcoin community related breakaway community, where you can log in, where you can sign up with your Bitcoin addresses. Yes, One Bitcoin Club. And so idea here is to attract any crypto communities, for example, be it Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or whatever blockchain you are part of it. You can join to the Hive. Still, you can engage with your community and come together. So that's been kind of inspiration also to start attracting different blockchains on the platform. And we already have a kind of a sample of this. We already been working on it a few weeks now, and we will be, I think, by the end of this month, we will be launching some, preliminary implementation of this, where you can sign up with any blockchain token. For example, if you have a Bitcoin, you can sign up quickly to the Hive and have your Bitcoin wallet attached to the Hive account. And if you have an Ethereum or if you have a Solana account, you can also sign up to the Hive and have your balances, have your wallets show up inside the Ecency application, and you can interact with your Bitcoin or Solana or Ethereum or whatever token you have. So that's been kind of our roadmap in going forward in the next proposal. I don't know how much of this we will be implementing or how much of this we will be making on time, but we will do our best to go toward that direction.
Well, it's a
So if you
beautiful
haven't,
roadmap. It is a really good roadmap. I want to touch on a couple things that you mentioned there, because I have noticed, and we've been working on just a single blog, and we have a subdomain service. So people set up their shop, and we just put it on the subdomain. And you mentioned decentralized, but also for SEO, this has really good consequences because we're starting to point towards more domains and have more domains pointing back at ourselves. It's very powerful. So, but one thing I want to mention here, because it ties into both of these, Ecency has been, and it ties into what we talked about with 3Speak, Ecency has been basically a champion of integrating with everyone, anyone, whatever people are trying to do on Hive. It seems that Ecency is trying to allow you to do it with Ecency. And so now it seems like even with other blockchains, you're taking that collaborative spirit and moving maybe even further outside of Hive. But is that just a philosophy, or do you pick winners, or how do you choose? Collaboration is a buzzword, but when you get down to the brass tacks, how does that look in day-to-day operations?
so as we talked earlier, it's all open source. So what we basically doing is developing the technology which you can launch any community towards any blockchain. But the community here takes on the flag and goes onto these communities and forms these applications. So our technology will be there, open source, and any one of applications on Hive who could see our code base or who could learn from build their versions of it, or they could just launch through Ecency on the platform. So it is kind of we building the technology, and then when it comes to the breakaway communities, then anyone who has a community on the Hive, they can launch their domain, or they can launch their platform and allowing to interact with different token holders. And ultimately, we are trying to be more inclusive and building the technology based on different tokens and different the communities. And once technology is there, I believe there will be more applications and more communities for new people joining the platform. They can see the potential, and then they can take on different form of they can build different form of applications on Hive. So this is kind of what I hope will happen, but it is we will see what out of.
Well,
And
we
when
will
it comes
see.
to the
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, just one
when it comes,
example is coming up in the chat, and that's Sting Chat. And I believe you guys implemented Sting, and it's called Conversation. Could you just talk just specifically about that example? Because that's Peak Open, I believe.
right. So our chat is not based on the Sting Chat, because Sting Chat is back then when we were building chat, it was still not ready. And Sting Chat is built by PickD team, I think. And I'm not sure how the development of that service is right now. But when we started, we didn't have it, or we didn't have it ready. So our chat future is based on I don't know if people are familiar with it, but it's a no-string platform. I can write it on the chat. And this platform is also open source, and our chat is basically based on no-string. And our goal with this was twofold. One is if you heard about the no-string, it's basically they trying to create decentralized network based on slightly different protocol, not blockchain, but different protocol. It's called relay. And there is up to 1 million user base. I think it was last time when I checked, but it might be less now. But it is completely open source, and it's decentralized network. And they're trying to be decentralized social network. And we thought we could integrate Nostring on our platform and invite those people into the Hive, because Nostring is kind of new and many people finding out about it. They joining because of some philosophical or whatever the reasons they have, but they haven't heard about Hive yet. So I think we were thinking if we could attract those users to the Hive, it would be a huge benefit, because around 1 million user base is quite huge, and if we could attract that to the Hive, that would be great. So that was our main motivation with integration with the Nostring. So we started with the conversations, with the chat, and our goal was to later on onboard all the Nostring users into the Hive through Ecency. But we haven't went to that route yet, because now we're doing with plenty of things like the breakaway community, self-hosting, and then attracting different chains. These all require resources, so we have to be smart where we allocate our resources. But there is huge potential attracting Nostring into the Hive, because there are a lot of people using Nostring, but they are kind of lost in between, and there is no perfect application. If we could combine and attract those people into the Hive, that would be a huge benefit. So that was our goal with it. And how we can allocate resources, that all depends on how much resources we have and how quickly things will move.
Very good. And I notice Ingenuity in the chat has said 50,000 plus downloads of the Ecency app on mobile. Do you have the exact number for all the different mobile platforms?
I don't have it right now, but I can get it later if you want to include that.
And we are coming up near to the top of the hour. Good Karma, just looking at your community, there are a lot of people that are helping make Ecency work. Are there any volunteers or people, contributors that you'd like to recognize in today's program?
Oh, there are plenty. You know yourself, if you are active on Ecency Discord, you can see everyone constantly contributing to the platform. And Melinda, there is Foxcoid. A lot of people here I see they are on chat, and they are constantly non-stop helping platform to grow. And you can also see some of them included into our contribution link. I will link it here. It's contributors, basically. Those who helped with the translation of the platform, those who helped with the Discord communities, those who are helping with creating communities and contests. A lot of people made Ecency what it is today. So I'm all thankful to that people, and without them, Ecency wouldn't exist. So we should be constantly talking about them and cherish them.
Fantastic. And I've put out the alert in the chat. Get your questions in. We are at the final audience question time here on Deep Web 3 Secrets. And we did talk a little bit about other chains. And we have the question, any integration plans with any other layer ones beyond the breakaway communities stuff that we talked about earlier?
Yes, in our initial implementation, first step is kind of we start with onboarding, creating kind of technology or the way for people to be onboarded. So this comes with the initial implementation. We have Bitcoin, I think, Ethereum, Solana, and then Ton, and then Aptos. Those are kind of what's coming top of my head, but there will be plenty more, because the technology will be there to allow different tokens. And once you have, for example, Doge or some other tokens based on Bitcoin, so they will be easily integrated into them as well. Because once you have technology for the Bitcoin, then any fork of Bitcoin will be potentially, easily configurable and onboarded. So this potential is quite huge, but we will be starting with what we have, and then slowly integrating and hoping that people will find a way to integrate into their tokens as well if they have other tokens. So that's kind of initial view on that. If you want to learn more, you can always go to our GitHub and see what developers are doing, because everything is open source. Whenever there is any change, you can see it way before we even announce it, or way before even we release it. So you can always check the comments, their comments, what developers are doing, what we're discussing, and it's easier to understand where the platform is headed. But it is more kind of a tech savvy people.
I think, Iko, that we are coming up on a good stopping point here. And Good Karma, I just wanted to thank you again for giving us some of your time today, taking some of these questions and kind of breaking out some of the history and the development of Ecency and where you hope to go in the future. And I think maybe in the not too distant future, it would be good to bring you back and see how you've done with your progress this year and how some of these outreach efforts are going.
Of course, certainly. Thank you very much for holding this. This has been great, and questions great. Thank you very much for organizing. And yes, I would love to join again. And let's do it every month or every other month, depending on how everything moving.
Fantastic. And we might have to pull you back over to the Hive Discord server for the next time. We like to go out and then we like to bring everybody together again. Well, Iko, do you want to wrap us up for today?
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Good Karma. Thank you, Ed, and thanks, Melinda, and everybody who showed up. We will be going on YouTube with this. This has been Deep Web 3 Secrets with Good Karma.